There have only ever been 4 players to reach 19 goal contributions in a single Champions League season. Lionel Messi, Robert Lewandowski, Cristiano Ronaldo, and not someone like R9, Neymar, Haaland, or Mbappe, but no other than Raphinha. And not only did he do it, he's tied with Cristiano Ronaldo for the most contributions ever in a single campaign. Against Real Madrid, 6 goal contributions versus Benfica, 4 goal contributions against Borussia Dortmund, scored a hat-trick against Bayern Munich, had 3 goal contributions against Atletico Madrid, and 2 goal contributions against Inter Milan. That's a season-ending total of 59 goal contributions in 57 matches. And yet, as the season has come to a close, well, it seems like recency bias has taken its toll. Raphinha, whose name had once been, has fallen to the likes of Ousmane Dembele and even his own teammate, Lamine Yamal. There was no viral PR campaign, no media storm declaring him the next Brazilian great. And it's not an indictment of Raphinha's performance. It's more of a critique on how the modern football ecosystem often ignores brilliance when it doesn't fit the right narrative, or just because it didn't end with a shiny piece of silverware. For example, I watched a 20-minute video a couple of weeks ago talking about if the Player of the Season award should be between Lamine Yamal, Pedri, or Mbappe. And there was zero mention of the guy who actually ended up winning the award. But I guess comments like this on the Barcelona subreddit explains it best. By logic, it's Raphinha. By sentiment, it's Yamal. Raphinha was quietly breaking Champions League records. His 13 goals made him the 3rd highest goal scorer most of the season out wide for a Barcelona team in transition in a system that never really revolved around him. Honestly, even his La Liga Player of the Season award felt like an afterthought, buried under all the transfer rumors and football drama. Had it been Vinicius, Mbappe, or Yamal putting up these numbers, I think the football world would have collapsed under the weight of all the hype. But Raphinha, he was just the other winger. Heck, he was always the Plan B signing. In fact, the club had even tried to offload him last summer. The man himself, hilariously, even liked a post on Instagram, saying how, like Neymar and Vinny Jr., he probably won't be winning the Ballon d'Or. So this is not about rewriting the Ballon d'Or shortlist. It might be about what we choose to celebrate. Because Raphinha didn't just have a good season, he had a historic one. One that stands shoulder to shoulder with some of the greatest individual campaigns of the modern era. And the fact that it went largely unnoticed and brushed aside says more about how football views stardom and recency than it does about his actual output. So today, let's break it down. The numbers, the records, the milestones, and more importantly, why it seems like the rest of the footballing world just doesn't care. To truly grasp the magnitude of Raphinha's 2024-25 campaign, by the end of the season, he racked up 34 goals and 25 assists across all competitions. That's 59 goal contributions in 57 matches, a ratio that far outpaces, and he didn't pad those stats against lower league opposition or in blowout wins. His production came in high leverage moments, away legs in Europe, tight matches in La Liga, and Copa del Rey knockouts. It wasn't empty calorie production, it was season-defining output. In La Liga alone, this made him the 3rd highest goal contributor in the league, trailing only behind Mbappe and Lewandowski, who both largely operate as center forwards. Because what made Raphinha's numbers even more impressive was the position he played. Lining up on performances were just all pure brilliance and efficiency throughout the entire season. Plus, his expected goals and expected assist data backs up the eye test. These weren't fluke goals or speculative assists. Raphinha consistently put himself and his teammates in high-quality positions with a mix of both technical precision and spatial intelligence, dominant in finishing the goals and setting them up for his teammates. And to give you more context behind his Champions League brilliance, not only did he co-lead the competition in both goals and assists, he was involved in 22 of Barcelona's 35 goals. That's about 62% of the club's total production coming from Raphinha. Even Lionel Messi's most dominant Champions League campaign in the 2011-12 season saw him net 14 goals and 5 assists. Cristiano Ronaldo's legendary 13-14 run produced 17 goals and 5 assists. And back then, when those two were doing it, nobody could stop talking about it. Yet despite Raphinha's incredible performance, he wasn't made as the face of any UEFA campaigns. All he got was those several weeks of talk in social media. But when you compare fewer set pieces and penalty goals, even Neymar's heralded 2014-15 season, he had 39 goals and 7 assists, finishing in 3rd place in the Ballon d'Or, still falls short of Raphinha's. So why did it seem like everyone just stopped caring? All the transfer news, drama, and even his teammate Lamine Yamal is getting much more spotlight. Firstly and undeniably, there's the issue of perception and branding. Raphinha, while an electric player, doesn't quite carry the marketing gravity of a Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., or Lamine Yamal. He doesn't have the charisma of a Jude Bellingham, nor does he have the youth-driven hype given to players like Pedri and Yamal. Raphinha plays with ruthless efficiency, and unlike his fellow Brazilian countrymen, he doesn't really dance or posture much after he scores a goal. Simply, he isn't polarizing. He isn't loud. His football and behavior on the pitch, while brilliant, doesn't exactly incite further emotion. He doesn't play like a villain and incites the crowd, and perhaps if he did, a lot more people will be talking about him. Secondly, there's also his role in Barcelona's system under Hansi Flick. While Xavi deployed him mostly on the right side and rotated him, Flick's vertical system unlocked a new dimension in Raphinha's game. Raphinha was then used more consistently on the left side. His chemistry with Pedri especially gave Barcelona positional flexibility and allowed him to roam much more freely. And the insane part is his pressing actually improved. He was tasked with more defensive work than in prior seasons, and still he managed his most productive season ever, which already makes his incredible season even more underrated. But domestic buried, and despite how insane he was in the Champions League, despite Raphinha playing and delivering brilliantly, as soon as they were eliminated, it felt like the highlights around him had ended and shifted to other guys on the team. Because in recent weeks with the Nations League, Lamine Yamal had popularly overtook him. And trust me, I'm not trying to hate on the kid. I think he's an incredible talent. But while many non-Madrid fans were citing the 3rd criteria for the Ballon d'Or, which just happens to be sportsmanship and behavior related, as to why Vinny Jr. didn't deserve the Ballon d'Or, as we've seen with Spain's Nations League final loss and Lamine Yamal walking away from his teammates refusing to congratulate Portugal. With that criteria plus the overall season they've had, I just don't understand how people have Lamine Yamal over Raphinha as the Ballon d'Or favorite. But part of this also stems from how fans and pundits consume football today. The argument behind analytics and eye test narratives have really choked the audience's perspective. Raphinha's game isn't really built on flashy tricks. His goals often come from smart positioning, second post runs, or quick 1-2 combinations. His goals and assists were textbook, and that ironically worked against him in an environment that prioritizes moments over consistency. And the key word here is consistency. Raphinha went 3 matches without a goal or assist just twice all season. He scored or assisted in every Champions League knockout round. In games where Barcelona needed results, he was always among the most involved. No time lost, no knocks, and no dips in form. While other stars went through droughts or injury layoffs, Raphinha kept ticking and kept performing. And another overlooked element is the volume and quality of chances he created for others. His open play expected assist ranked among the top 5 in Europe, averaging 2.7 key passes per 90 minutes. His shot creating actions per 90 stood at 5.8, elite territory for any possession, let alone a winger expected to press, track back, and maintain width. Despite all that, Raphinha's name was barely mentioned in the end-of-season award conversations, aside from his La Liga Player of the Season, which barely made the round on social media. You could even argue this was a long-time pattern in Raphinha's career. Throughout his journey, he's been basically overlooked at every level. He never played for a major Brazilian club, he didn't make a splashy entrance to Europe, and even when he signed for Barcelona, he was never exactly their first-choice winger. That's why last summer there were even rumors about getting rid of him or finally replacing him. But maybe another reason why not so many people care as much as they really should is because this is the first time that Raphinha really became clearly world class. Sure, it's this anomaly that makes his 24-25 season so fascinating, but from what I'm noticing, a lot of people treat it as a fluke season. Maybe if it was his 2nd or 3rd time doing this, the discussions of the context of this season would be much greater. Because truly, Raphinha's season was historic. Not just good, not just above average. Historic. He did everything right. produce, improve, and deliver. It raises real questions about how we elevate greatness in the age of social media. If a 35-goal and 25-assist winger for Barcelona in the Champions League era can be ignored, what chance does anyone else have without the machinery of hype? Because despite how insane the season was, while coaches will remember the output and players will remember facing him, a lot of analysts, pundits, and fans are going to largely forget. That's why it's such a shame he isn't getting more recognition or praise for a truly historic season he had. It'll be sad that if in a few years people will be saying he had one of the most underrated seasons on Raphinha's name.